start! Starboard engine!
In the vast, uncharted depths of our oceans lie remnants of countless vessels that once sailed with purpose and pride. Yet, amidst the endless blue expanse, there are ships that now rest in strange silence, their stories lost to time and their fates hidden in mystery. How did these majestic ships end up stranded and forgotten? Join us as we unravel 20 most shocking mysteries surrounding these abandoned ships. Number 20, the SS Urang Madan. According to legend, the SS Urang Madan, a Dutch cargo ship, was navigating through the dangerous waters of the Strait of Malacca when it was struck by a mysterious and deadly catastrophe. Nearby ships reported receiving a terrifying distress signal. The message, filled with dread, stated, "All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and on the bridge. Probably the whole crew is dead." This was followed by a strange burst of Morse code, and then the chilling final words from the radio operator, "I die." Imagine the fear that must have gripped those who heard that message. Eventually, another vessel managed to locate the SS Urang Madan, and what they found was the stuff of nightmares. The ship was strangely silent, and every single crew member was dead. Their bodies were scattered across the ship, frozen in positions of horror, with faces twisted in expressions of pure terror. Strangely, there were no visible injuries on any of the bodies, leaving everyone puzzled as to what could have caused such a tragic end. But the mystery didn't end there. After the ghost ship was discovered and towed toward the port, an unexpected disaster struck. The SS Urang Madan suddenly caught fire, forcing everyone to abandon ship. Not long after, the vessel exploded with a force so powerful that it sank into the depths of the ocean, taking all of its dark secrets with it. Number 19, the SS Airfield. The SS Airfield is considered one of the surviving relics of the World War I and II eras. But today, its significance extends beyond its historical value. It's also admired for the stunning natural beauty it has become. Over the years, the ship has become a thriving habitat for rich green mangroves that are so fresh and vibrant, they almost seem to invite you to reach out and touch them. Built in 1911 in Scotland, the SS Airfield served diligently for 6 decades before being decommissioned in 1972. That was supposed to mark the end of its journey. Like other decommissioned ships in Sydney, where it had been stationed just a year after it was built, the SS Airfield was sent to Homebush Bay. There, ships were typically dismantled, with usable parts melted down and repurposed. This was supposed to be the fate of the SS Airfield as well. However, due to an unexpected downturn in the shipbreaking industry, the yard was abandoned, leaving the SS Airfield and several other ships at the mercy of nature. As expected, the ship began to rust and slowly sank, but not completely. Over time, small shoots emerged from the wreck, eventually growing into a magnificent display of mangroves. Now over a century old, the 1,140-ton steel vessel has transformed into a unique natural landmark that continues to draw tourists from around the world, all eager to capture its breathtaking beauty. Number 18, SS Creet Boom. Ireland may be small, but its coastline and riverbanks are home to an astonishing number of shipwrecks. Among these, one of the most remarkable is the abandoned SS Creet Boom, which lies stranded in Ballina Key, County Mayo. Trapped forever on the River Moy, this vessel has a history that dates back over a century. The Creet Boom's unusual construction material was a result of the scarcity of traditional shipbuilding resources during World War I. Built in 1917, the ship was initially used to transport iron ore from Spain to England. After the war, a London-based company purchased the vessel, and it began a new chapter, carrying coal between mainland Europe and England. The Creet Boom didn't arrive in Ireland until 1937, by which time it was in poor condition. The plan was to scuttle the ship, turning it into part of a barrier at the mouth of the river. However, during the final leg of its journey, the vessel struck rocks and began to take on water. With little else that could be done, the crew towed the Creet Boom to midstream, where it has remained ever since, a haunting reminder of a bygone era. Number 17. North Korean ghost ships. North Korea is already notorious for being one of the most repressive and isolated countries in the world, with a leadership that thrives on instilling fear through an ever-growing arsenal of weapons. The idea of them having ghost ships might sound like something out of a horror movie, but this phenomenon is all too real. However, these ghost ships aren't part of some threatening military plot. Instead, they're linked to a strange annual event that takes place in Japan. Each year, fishing boats from North Korea mysteriously drift onto Japanese shores, their crews found lifeless, and the vessels themselves battered beyond recognition. During the harsh winter months, North Korean fishing boats set sail in search of specific catches, but the odds are stacked against them. The weather conditions are brutal, and the boats themselves are anything but modern. Lacking powerful engines, GPS, or other essential navigation tools, these vessels are woefully ill-equipped to handle the dangerous waters. As a result, many of these boats are ravaged by the elements, and their crews succumb to starvation and exposure. The powerful winter winds then carry these worn-out ships across the sea, eventually depositing them on Japan's shores. It's unsettling to think that this happens year after year, with no apparent effort to stop the tragic cycle. Number 16. The Costa Concordia Shipwreck. This catastrophe occurred just off the coast of an Italian island, where the luxurious cruise ship found itself in dangerously shallow waters. Although not all crew members perished, the disaster claimed over 30 lives, a loss that was not only devastating but also entirely preventable. The cause of the wreck was ultimately traced back to human error. The ship's captain, when questioned about the incident, denied the accusations that he steered the vessel so close to the island to impress a rumored fiancée. Instead, he argued that his intention was to salute fellow mariners and offer passengers a stunning view. However, his explanations seemed flimsy and inadequate, especially given the gravity of the consequences. His poor judgment as captain led to a tragic loss of 32 lives and left many others injured. The Costa Concordia, a symbol of luxury and comfort, met its tragic end in 2012 due to this easily avoidable mistake. Number 15. Concrete ship. The concept of a concrete ship might sound unusual, but Great Britain wasn't the only nation to experiment with this idea. Another relic of this innovative past can be found in the lower reaches of the Volga River, near Astrakhan in Russia, close to the Caspian Sea. This mysterious wreck is a fascinating sight, a hybrid structure made partly of concrete and partly of steel. Although its origins remain hidden in mystery, the ship's size and internal design suggest it may have once served as a tanker during its active years. Today, the vessel lies abandoned and unguarded, allowing curious adventurers to climb aboard and explore its deteriorating decks. The photographs we've obtained reveal a haunting scene: water slowly seeping into the lower decks, and in some areas, the concrete has crumbled away, exposing the steel network that once held the ship together. It's evident that this vessel has been neglected for many years and is now far beyond repair. Gazing upon this ghostly structure, one can't help but wonder what kinds of goods it might have carried in its heyday, back when it had a crew and an owner who kept it sailing. Number 14. The Octavius. Back in 1761 in London, when Octavius was prepared for a daring journey across the globe, its mission was to deliver cargo all the way to China, a daunting voyage in those days. But the ship was well prepared, stocked with ample supplies, and manned by a large crew, ready to face the dangers of the sea. The Octavius successfully reached China, unloaded its cargo, and began the long trek back home. The captain, uncomfortable with the unusually warm weather on their return journey, made a bold decision. He chose to navigate through the Northwest Passage, a route so dangerous that no one had ever successfully completed it at the time. And then, Octavius simply vanished. For 14 long years, the ship was lost to the world, presumed sunk in the unforgiving Arctic waters. That is, until 1775, when a whaling ship, of all things, stumbled upon a ghostly sight near the coast of Greenland. There, drifting aimlessly in the icy waters, was Octavius. When the whalers boarded the ship, they were met with a horrifying scene. The entire 28-member crew had frozen to death, each one strangely preserved in time. The most haunting discovery was the captain, still seated at his desk, pen in hand, as if caught in the middle of writing. This raises some unsettling questions. How did Octavius manage to sail from China to Greenland without being spotted for over a decade? What fate befell the crew that led to their tragic end, frozen in the icy grip of the Arctic? These mysteries have remained unsolved, leaving the story of the Octavius as one of the most haunting maritime legends ever told. Number 13. The Edmund Fitzgerald Shipwreck. This massive ship, over 300 yards long, gained discredit after sinking in 1975, but before that, it had an impressive run. For 8 years, it was a workhorse, transporting cargo for various companies at a pace that made its builders proud. However, the Edmund Fitzgerald had its share of difficulties even before its final voyage. In 1969, it ran aground, and a year later, in 1970, it collided with the SS Hochelaga. In 1973 and again in 1974, it struck the wall of a lock, but none of these incidents were deemed serious enough to cause concern. On November 9, 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald was fully loaded with iron ore pellets and departed from Superior, Wisconsin near Duluth, bound for a steel mill near Detroit. She was accompanied by another ship, the SS Arthur M. Anderson, with whom she had her last communications. The next day, they were caught in a violent storm on Lake Superior, a storm that would seal the fate of Edmund Fitzgerald. The ship sank in Canadian waters, 530 feet deep, about 17 miles from Whitefish Bay, near the twin cities of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. All 29 crew members tragically lost their lives. The area where the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, known as the Whitefish Point area, has a notorious reputation for shipwrecks, with nearly 300 vessels claimed by these dangerous waters. The mystery surrounding the ship's sinking led to widespread speculation and inspired several films and the famous ballad, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, by Gordon Lightfoot. Number 12. Tangal Shipwrecks. At Tangal, you'll encounter the Tangal wrecks, a collection of 15 ships intentionally sunk by the Queensland government from 1963 to 1983. Their strategic placement was aimed at creating a safe port and to encourage marine growth. These sunken vessels have become a thriving underwater ecosystem. Over 100 species of fish, including vibrant parrotfish and elusive angelfish, now make the wrecks their home. The wrecks also attract larger marine creatures like sea turtles and the occasional reef shark. Dolphin sightings are common, as these playful creatures often visit the wrecks, drawn by the abundance of fish. Among the wrecks, the Maho, built in 1885, stands out. Despite years underwater, its framework remains relatively intact, offering a glimpse into maritime history. Another notable wreck is the SS Platypus, which was a ferry used in Queensland before being hurried. The area is also home to various bird species. Apart from the bream and pelican, you might see seabirds and white-bellied sea eagles soaring above. The Tangal wrecks are not just a snorkeling paradise. They also offer excellent opportunities for underwater photography and marine life observation. For those who are not confident swimmers, renting a sea scooter provides an effortless way to explore the wrecks. Number 11. Carol A. Deering. The Carol A. Deering set sail on its final journey in August 1920. This ship was in fresh condition, with an experienced captain and a crew of 10 heading from Norfolk, Virginia to Rio de Janeiro with a cargo of coal. Despite a few challenges along the way, such as the captain falling ill and being replaced, the voyage went smoothly. They dropped off their cargo in Rio and began their return trip, expected to arrive back by December of that year. Captain Jacobson, who was stationed aboard the Cape Lookout lightship in North Carolina. In January 1921, he spotted the Carroll A. Deering and received a distress signal from the ship, reporting that they had lost their anchors. Captain Jacobson noticed that the crew seemed to be moving about in a manner that suggested they were not in immediate danger. However, just 2 days later, the Carroll A. Deering ran aground on the Diamond Shoals. When rescuers inspected the ship, they found it strangely deserted. The crew, their personal belongings, essential ship equipment, important documents, and all the lifeboats were gone. The FBI even conducted an investigation into the mysterious disappearance but found no answers. The crew had vanished without a trace, and the shipwreck remains covered in mystery. Number 10. The SS Valencia Shipwreck. This catastrophe happened in 1906 when Valencia was already over 20 years old. Originally built to transport passengers, cargo, and troops across the ocean, it was later repurposed as a second-class passenger steamer, frequently traveling between San Francisco and Seattle. The wreck of the Valencia shares a grim similarity with that of the Titanic, though on a smaller scale. The disaster began when the Valencia struck a reef amid a violent storm. This collision caused a massive tear in the ship's framework, allowing water to pour in rapidly. Although the ship was close to shore, the captain's efforts to beach the vessel were in vain. As the Valencia struck the rocks again while attempting to reach land, it was battered by fierce waves. In the chaos, lifeboats were launched without the captain's orders, leading to a tragic outcome. The first 3 lifeboats capsized upon hitting the water, and 3 more overturned as they descended. The last lifeboat was swallowed by the waves, leaving no trace. The disaster claimed at least 136 lives, with only 37 survivors. Now, over 120 years later, the wreckage of the Valencia can still be seen in that dangerous region. Some of the remains are stuck along the coastline. For many years, rumors have circulated about ghostly lifeboats appearing in the area, and it's said that the spirit of Valencia continues to battle the stormy seas. Number 9. Mysterious 19th Century Shipwreck. In May 2019, an extraordinary discovery captured global attention: the remains of a wooden ship that had once sailed the seas during the 19th century. Researchers stumbled upon this historic relic while testing underwater drone technology in the Gulf of Mexico. What they found was truly remarkable: a rare and well-preserved shipwreck. Experts were quickly summoned to examine the site, and their analysis suggested that the vessel was constructed sometime in the mid-19th century. Measuring approximately 37.8 meters in length, this ship was no ordinary find. The exploration was led by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration NOAA aboard the research vessel Okeanos Explorer. Their remotely operated vehicle, ROV, equipped with advanced sonar technology, played a crucial role in uncovering this maritime treasure. The ship's wooden structure, although aged and covered in thick layers of mold, still bore traces of its original copper sheathing along the bottom of the hull. This detail offered a glimpse into the craftsmanship of the era. Despite the remarkable preservation, it was impossible to pinpoint the exact date of the ship's construction or the circumstances of its sinking. However, based on certain clues, experts believe that this shipwreck could be over 2 centuries old, a silent witness to a bygone era resting in the depths of the Gulf of Mexico. Number 8. World Discoverer. It's quite ironic that a ship named World Discoverer would end up stranded in one place for 20 years, yet that is exactly what happened to this once proud vessel. Before meeting this unfortunate fate, the World Discoverer had enjoyed a long and successful life at sea. The ship was originally built in Germany in 1974 and sold to a Danish company to serve as a cruise liner. Later, it was sold again, this time to a cruise company based in Singapore, where it operated for 16 years. During that period, the world discoverer roamed the globe, bringing joy to countless passengers. By 1990, the ship was beginning to show its age. However, instead of being retired, it underwent a full refurbishment, emerging in nearly new condition and sailing under the Liberian flag. Under normal circumstances, the world discoverer might still be sailing the seas today, but fate had other plans. In April 2000, the ship struck a reef near the Solomon Islands, causing significant damage. Fortunately, all passengers were safely rescued. However, the ship's courageous captain, Oliver Royce, chose to stay aboard, steering the damaged vessel to Roderick Bay. This heroic act allowed for the ship's valuables to be salvaged, but the 26-year-old world discoverer could not be saved. Number 7. The Bessie White. The Bessie White was a grand coal sailing ship, distinguished by its 4 masts and likely one of the last of its kind ever built. Stretching over 200 feet in length and weighing 2,000 tons, this magnificent ship met a tragic fate. Despite being only 3 years old, disaster struck on February 6, 1922. While navigating the waters near Smith's Point, the Bessie White ran aground just half a mile west of the point. The impact was devastating, causing the ship to take on water at an alarming rate. Fortunately, the crew survived the initial disaster, but their ordeal was far from over. They found themselves in a desperate situation, unable to signal for help effectively due to the challenging conditions surrounding them. It seemed uncertain if they would ever make it to safety. However, the crew managed to launch 2 lifeboats. One of these boats successfully reached the shore and was able to summon help, leading to the rescue of the remaining crew members. Number 6. The USS Airfield. Originally built in 1902 by the Pusey and Jones Shipyard in Wilmington, Delaware, it was commissioned by J. Rogers Maxwell, a prominent railroad executive. The sleek yacht was launched on April 12, 1902, and enjoyed a peaceful existence until the United States entered World War I. The U.S. Navy acquired the Celt on July 3, 1917, transforming it into a coastal patrol yacht to serve the nation during both World War I and World War II. This remarkable vessel holds an intriguing chapter in its history when it was loaned to the renowned inventor Thomas Edison, who used it for government-funded experiments. Despite its illustrious past, the ship's journey took a saddening turn years after the wars. In 1986, a Cincinnati native named Robert Miller purchased the vessel for the modest sum of $7,500. Miller embarked on several adventurous voyages aboard the Celt, but eventually, the ship was left to decay in the waters of Taylor Creek. The Celt did not sink entirely, but instead remained partially submerged, earning the weird nickname the Ghost Ship from local residents. Yet, few who see the deteriorating vessel today are aware of the rich and storied past of the Celt, also known as the USS Airfield, a ship that once sailed with purpose and glory through some of history's most defining moments. Now, it's time for today's subscriber's pick. Deep in the heart of the uncharted Atlantic, a ship lies abandoned and cloaked in a cover of mystery. This is not just any abandoned ship. It's a mystery wrapped in the allure of nature's reclamation. Known as the Octavius, this vessel is covered in a fabric of vibrant green leaves, making it look as though it's been transformed into a floating garden. Legend has it that the Octavius was a grand ship of its time, a marvel of engineering that plied the seas with the wealth and richness of its owners. But one fateful night, it vanished without a trace. For decades, it was thought to be lost to the depths of the ocean, until it was spotted again drifting aimlessly, strangely silent and overgrown. The ship's sudden reappearance sparked curiosity and speculation. Explorers who dared to approach described an unsettling sight. Octavius was not just abandoned, he was almost alive. Rich evergreen leaves, vibrant ferns, and even delicate flowers had taken root in its wood and metal, creating a rich green wilderness that seemed almost otherworldly. The ship's deck, once bustling with activity, was now a leafy paradise, with climbing plants flowing over the railings like living curtains. Some say the ship is cursed, destined to wander the seas forever as nature's canvas. Others believe it's a magical place, where the boundaries between the natural and supernatural fade. What happened to the crew of the Octavius? Did they meet with a mysterious fate, or were they simply lost to the sea? Share your thoughts and comments below. Number 5. Abandoned Island. Heading towards the Leeward Antilles in the Caribbean, one will come across Klein Curaçao, a mysterious and slightly strange abandoned island, completely devoid of life. But this hasn't always been the case, as proven by the empty lighthouse that still stands there, a silent witness to the island's past. This lighthouse isn't alone, though. It has the company of 2 shipwrecks, each with its own haunting story. One of the wrecks is the shattered remains of the Maria Bianca Guidesman, a once mighty oil tanker. In the 1960s, this proud vessel met a tragic fate when it ran aground on Klein Curaçao, with such force that it split clean in 2. The damage was so severe that any hope of salvaging the ship was abandoned. For nearly 60 years, the sun has relentlessly beaten down on the ship's battered shell, slowly turning it into rusting ruins. The second shipwreck on the island is more mysterious, its identity harder to pin down. But if it could speak, it might tell a dark and shameful tale. The island lies along the route once used by the Dutch West India Company during the transatlantic slave trade. Klein Curaçao served as a quarantine station, where sick enslaved people were isolated in a shabby hospital. It's possible that this second ship was a slave ship, which would explain why no one has ever come forward to claim it. Number 4. The Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste is perhaps the most famous ghost ship in history, and its story remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries. The tale of this ill-fated vessel began in 1872 when it set sail from New York City bound for Italy. Although the route was well-traveled, something went terribly wrong. The Mary Celeste left New York on November 7th, but by December 5th, it was found drifting aimlessly about 400 miles east of the Azores by another ship that had set out after the Mary Celeste. What made this discovery so strange was that when the crew of the other vessel boarded the Mary Celeste, they found no one aboard, not a single soul. The ship was still seaworthy, despite some water in its framework, and the only lifeboat was missing. Strangely, the ship's provisions, which could have sustained the crew for 6 months, were untouched, further deepening the mystery. Despite an investigation, no evidence of foul play was ever found, and the fate of the Mary Celeste's crew remains a mystery to this day. Number 3. The SS Cotopaxi. When the SS Cotopaxi vanished in 1925, it ignited a lightning of imaginative superstition and wild theories. Many speculated that the Bermuda Triangle was to blame for the sudden disappearance of the ship. For 95 years, this saga circulated around until they were finally put to rest in a surprising twist. The SS Cotopaxi, a coal-carrying vessel with 32 crew members on board, had mysteriously disappeared while on its routine journey from Charleston, South Carolina to Havana, Cuba. Over the years, the ship's fate became the stuff of legend, with sci-fi films even suggesting that aliens were responsible for its vanishing, as illustrated in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. However, the truth was far less fantastical but just as compelling. The ship had actually sunk during a terrible storm and was eventually carried ashore near St. Augustine, Florida. Nearly a century after its disappearance, the wreck was discovered thanks to the relentless efforts of marine biologist Barnett and his diving partner. Their determination led them to an almost unrecognizable wreck, buried under years of marine growth and waste. By uncovering an old piece of coal from the wreckage and tracking down a carpenter who had worked on the ship's construction, Barnett was able to confirm that the sunken vessel was indeed the long-lost SS Cotopaxi. Number 2. USS Arizona Memorial. The Arizona was famously sunk during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, an event that led to the United States fully entering World War II. The memorial, constructed 20 years after the attack, is visited by about 2 million people each year. It allows them to pay their respects and get close to the wreck without disturbing it. The design of the memorial is unique. It spans across the framework of the buried battleship but does not physically touch it, reducing the risk of further damage to the site. Since 1989, the remnants of Arizona have been designated a National Historic Landmark. On May 2018, a significant crack was discovered on the exterior of the ship. Although it was repaired, the crack reappeared quickly, leading to a year-long suspension of visits. While the site is open to visitors again, the future of Arizona remains uncertain, and no one knows how much longer it will endure. Number 1. SS Maho. This ship was designed as an ocean liner to transport people and cargo between New Zealand and Australia. It served this purpose efficiently for over 30 years. However, in 1935, as it neared the end of its service, it was being towed to Japan to be dismantled for scrap. Everything was going smoothly until the Maho and its 2 accompanying ships encountered a powerful windstorm. The storm was anything but pleasant. During the chaos, the tow line snapped, leaving the Maho adrift and powerless. The crew, only a small skeleton crew, was now stuck on a ship that couldn't be controlled. Eventually, the Maho ran aground off Fraser Island. The crew was safe and set up camp on the island, waiting to be rescued. Meanwhile, the ship was stripped of its valuable parts, as it could neither be repaired nor sold. Which abandoned ship intrigued you the most? Do you believe any of these ghost ships might still hold secrets waiting to be uncovered? Share your insights and speculations in the comments below.